Le Nissan Kick-Split 2025 a beaucoup de plus. Apple CarPlay intégré pour jouer vos tunes préférées, des fonctions avancées de sécurité, un rendement énergétique remarquable, puis même la petite odeur de char neuf qu'on aime tant. Tout ça en plus pour moins. Le Nissan Kick-Split 2025 est le véhicule neuf le plus abordable au Québec. Achetez-le à partir de seulement 22 774 $, incluant un rabais à l'achat comptant de 2 600 $. Profitez de cette offre avantageuse chez votre concessionnaire dès maintenant. Jusqu'au 2 mars, des conditions s'appliquent. Détails chez Nissan.
All right, easy on the sugar, people. Easy on the sugar. True story. This week on Monday, we decided, Olivia and I, my fiance and I, we decided, hey, let's treat ourselves. And I had a coupon pop up in the Uber Eats, and it was for Starbucks. And they said, we're going to give you 40% off if you want to order some Starbucks. So we looked at each other and we said, okay, you know what? Let's treat ourselves. We haven't had Starbucks in months and months and months. So I ordered a couple of their holiday beverages, right? And I have to say, I lowered the sugar in my beverage. It's like 4 pumps of each of the syrups. I brought that down to 2 because I'm like, it's too much. It's too much of the sugar. Anyways, we ordered that. We enjoyed the beverages. The beverages were good. Now, you can't order Starbucks every single day. It's A, expensive. B, it's loaded with sugar and all that other stuff. Yesterday at home, we said, hey, we're going to make some lattes. We're going to use our Nespresso machine. We got the Nespresso machine. It also froths the milk. And you know what I did? I took a Lindt chocolate. You know those balls, those Lindt chocolate balls? I had a Lindt mint chocolate ball. I cut it in half and I popped in a half in each of our cups. And then I poured the hot coffee, the espresso, right on that half of a chocolate mint ball. And we made our own mint lattes at home. It was delicious and a fraction of the cost. But having said that, we added sugar. We added sugar to our beverage. Now, there's a new study that suggests that sugary drinks pose a greater risk for heart disease than baked goods filled with sugar. Let's find out a little bit more. Dr. Chris Labos is with us, cardiologist, degree in epidemiology, and a regular contributor right here on CJAD. Hi, Dr. Labos.
Hello. You know, Elias, I think you need your own cooking show based on that introduction.
This is seriously, everyone should use this. You take 1 ball of the Lindt milk, and I only used half per drink, and it really adds something special. But the sugar, Dr. Labos, we all know now sugar's bad for you. But is it possible that it's depending on the delivery method, it could be worse or better?
So my answer would be no. And let me explain to you why, because I think this study is a perfect example of a very common phenomenon in statistics and medical research. So let me just recap what the study actually did. The study was exactly as you said. They were looking at these population-wide surveys, and they divided people based on their food questionnaires into 3 groups. Were they drinking sugar-sweetened beverages, so soft drinks or coffees where you're adding sugar to stuff? Were you eating pastries, or were you eating toppings, things like sugar and honey that you're sort of adding to your food for flavoring? Mm-hmm. And they looked at these 3 different groups, and what they found was, you're right, the sugar-sweetened beverages, so the people drinking soft drinks and sugary beverages, they are the ones that had the most consistent association to multiple cardiovascular risk factors like stroke, heart failure, atrial fibrillation. The people adding sugar and honey to their food still had some associations, mainly with heart failure, but not with other stuff. And the people who were eating pastries, as reported on these questionnaires, they actually had a negative association. So the more they ate, the less heart disease they seemed to have.
What? Let's rewind that tape and let's play it back. So for the pastries, the more pastries, the better the heart health?
Yeah, and here's the problem, though. With all 3 of those groups, the same thing happened. When you look at the people who consumed 0 sugar, who said that they were consuming 0 added sugar, whether it's in the beverages or the pastries or whatever, they were the ones that always had the highest risk. And now, this is pop quiz time for you. Yeah. Why did it look like those people had the highest risk, even though they were eating the least amount of sugar?
No, I'm scratching my head here. You have to tell me.
Well, okay, because this was what's called an observational type study. So they were just basically mailing questionnaires out to people and asking them, what do you eat? And you have to start thinking to yourself, was it because the people with underlying heart disease, the people who already had diabetes, were they the ones that were avoiding the sugary stuff, avoiding the pastries? Oh. And where I think you're seeing the discrepancy here is that people know I shouldn't go out and eat a piece of cake. And yet we are not as good at identifying the sugar that comes in our drinks. Case in point, the coffee. A lot of people go and enjoy the coffees at Tim Hortons, Starbucks, whatever. And I don't think we fully appreciate how much sugar is in a lot of these beverages, because coffee in and of itself is essentially a 0-calorie drink. It's not actually 0 calories. It has like 3 calories, 4 calories in it.
Yeah.
But it's when you start adding in all these flavorings, all these toppings, that you get a lot of excess sugar. And a lot of it is not hidden, but I think a lot of people just don't realize it in the same way that they know that, you know what, I probably shouldn't be adding honey to something. I probably shouldn't be having a piece of cake. And so the fact that most people end up consuming a lot of their sugar from sugar-sweetened beverages is probably explaining why it had the more obvious statistical association in this one study.
And it's so easy to disguise in beverages, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like we could, if we knew if we could see it, we'd be appalled if we knew that a third, a quarter, maybe half of the cup is sugar before they start adding liquid to it. You know, we would freak out if we probably knew the truth behind some of these drinks.
Well, and I'll tell you, I love French vanilla as a flavor. I just like the flavoring of it. And I had gotten one of those things to make French vanilla coffees at home, and I was enjoying it. And I was looking, and then one day I looked at the label, and each serving had like 300 calories or something. And I said, better stop that. And that's the thing. And then that is, well, and you raised an interesting point. There has been a push to have calorie counts listed on menus and on the displays when you listed on the displays when you go to stores, because I think a lot of people don't fully appreciate how many calories are in this stuff. And if people saw them, they would probably be more inclined to go and drink, you know, regular coffee, black coffee, which is, you know, pretty healthy in the sense that it has very little calories, very little sugar naturally present in there.
With Dr. Christopher Labos, talking about sugar this morning with Dr. Labos. What about, you know, I'm thinking to myself, I don't put sugar in my coffee, right? Like I have my coffee, I put milk or cream depending on where I am and that kind of thing. But I love to have something sweet with my coffee, like a coffee and a muffin, a coffee and a chocolatin. I love that. But isn't it actually also just a better way of doing things? Because is the brain better capable at realizing just what it's taking in when it comes in food form and not drink form?
Sort of, but it's not your brain, it's your stomach. Or to put it more accurately, it's the hormonal response. Because here's the thing, once you're actually eating food, your stomach is sending signals back to your brain to say, you have now eaten food, you don't have to be hungry anymore. Yeah. And so you do get that sense of satiety for at least a little bit of time. But when you drink your calories, and this is one of the reasons why there's been a push in recent years to, you know, not give fruit juices to kids because they're loaded with sugar, right? Not to sort of push back on this idea of colas and soft drinks, which are very commonly consumed. And it's because when you drink the calories, you don't feel like you've eaten anything. Yeah. And so you're still hungry after the fact. So you're right. I mean, the better course of action is to not eat any pastries or any sweetened beverages. Yeah. But if you were actually eating it, now you felt like you've eaten something, that's probably going to forestall your hunger. Whereas if you just drink it, 10 minutes later, you're like, okay, now time for me to sit down and have my proper meal, and you end up consuming more calories as a consequence.
Dr. Labos, listen, I have a note from a listener, and they're asking about the diet sodas, right? The diet beverages. So let's remove the sugary soda, replace it with a diet drink. I know, like, I love bubbles. I really do enjoy drinking carbonated stuff. So now a couple of times a week, I'll have a Diet Coke, another type of diet beverage. I do that as a treat a couple times a week, but not the sugared stuff. Does it matter? Does that actually help if you go with the aspartame, the diet drinks?
So that's a very interesting and debatable point. It doesn't seem to make a huge difference. And there's a few sort of speculations as to why it's the case. We'll sort of save that for another time. If you're worried, do diet soft drinks cause cancer? We can say unequivocally no. You don't have to worry about their harm. It's unclear that they make a big difference, but if you are going to have one, I would probably opt for the non-sugar one because there's just less sugar in it. It doesn't make much of a difference for most people, and that's probably because for most people, if you're not drinking an excessive amount of soft drinks, the relative diminution in sugar that you're taking in is probably not enough to change things in the grand scheme of things. But it's a very, very complex topic. But if you're worried about the cancer risk, I think we can say pretty clearly there's no cancer risk with the diet sodas.
We got through this segment, and I wish we had talked about donuts for a bit, but we covered so much else. Dr. Labos, thanks so much.
My pleasure. You take care.
Dr. Christopher Labos, of course, a regular contributor right here on CJAD.